I think. So welcome everybody to this European Union of Yoga session. This is the fourth year of our spirituality program, series of talks and practices online. The spirituality program, as I'm sure lots of you already know, generally offers around 30, maybe 40 sessions a year, open to absolutely everybody, and also free. So free for absolutely anybody to join, and you're all very welcome today. The EUI, I think you're also all, again, very familiar with the EUI, founded, of course, in 1971, and well known for two particular things. So the Congress, the EUI Congress, which takes place every year in Zinal, it's just happened just very recently in August, and will again be in Zinal next year in August on the theme of emotions in yoga next year. Second thing that you will know the EUI for is its yoga teacher training program, which of course requires federations to have a 4-year 500 contact hour program, something that the EUI is very attached to, thinks is extremely important in terms of preserving quality of teaching. And a link to that yoga teacher training program, we have a new initiative in this year's spirituality program, which is that we are encouraging recent graduates of EUI teacher training programs to come along and to share the results of research that they've done as part of their studies, maybe as their final dissertation at the end of their studies. So this is a way of kind of opening out, if you like, to new teachers, to younger teachers, people who are going to be the future of the EUI, we hope. And very bravely, Veronika has come along and is the very first to share with us her research that she did as part of her studies. So thank you very much for being here and coming along to support her. Veronika, as I say, just graduated in very recently, 2025, with the Slovakian Yoga Association. She looked particularly at Yoga Nidra, and she's going to be telling us today about the effects of Yoga Nidra on sleep. There will first of all be a talk with a presentation so that we can perhaps follow a little bit more easily what she's saying. Then an opportunity to discuss, to share your experiences, maybe ask questions if the things that you're wondering. And then if there's time, hopefully there will be time, perhaps a short practice of Yoga Nidra at the end, the whole lasting probably about an hour and a half, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, depending on how the time goes. So without further ado, I'm now going to hand over to Veronika Miškech Fričová, and apologies for the pronunciation.
Thank you very much. It was perfect pronunciation, especially the thank you very much for having me and giving me the opportunity to share with you all my research and studies of Yoga Nidra and its effects on sleep. Thank you very much for interest of everyone who has signed up and is here today. It would be great, maybe it's not so many of us, so if those of you that feel like if you could just very briefly say your name and maybe your relationship with Yoga Nidra and why you are here in just very few words, so just so I know who is in the group. So just feel free, whoever wants to speak, or you can just put your hand up and I can just call the name if you prefer doing it that way.
I think you're still muted, Laurence. Laurence, you need to...
Oh, Laurence, yes, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to wait until maybe someone had been quicker. So my name is Laurent Jourdain. I'm from France. I live next to Versailles. I have studied Yoga Nidra, especially the Satyanandan Yoga Nidra, a long time ago. And then I also followed a week of training with Philippe Birgabel, who introduced different kinds of Yoga Nidra, Himalayan Institute, I Rest, etc. And this year we have started a Yoga Nidra lesson, so an hour a week with one of the associations I work with, and I'm very eager to learn more about Yoga Nidra from you, Veronika.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. Elizabeth? Or Maria, sorry. So,
okay, I know very little about Yoga Nidra, but I have been sometimes Googling into YouTubes on Yoga Nidra and insomnia, and it's quite frequently worked. I do teach yoga in England. I'm currently based in Paris, and I'm just wishing to learn more, but I know very little, theoretically.
thank you, Elizabeth. And Muriel, I think you were going to speak.
Yes, so I'm Muriel from Strasbourg in France, and I'm interested because I'm receiving sometimes Yoga Nidra, rarely, and I give Yoga Nidra sometimes during my yoga classes. For example, before holidays, like 2-3 times a year only. So I'm interested in whatever you can explain to us.
Thank you. Nike?
Hello. Yeah, my name is Nika. I'm in Ireland. I have received Yoga Nidra on several occasions, but I've never taught it. And we were actually having a weekend away recently where somebody taught us yoga or guided us through Yoga Nidra, and afterwards we all talked about it and said, what is the purpose of Yoga Nidra? And we couldn't really, well, I mean, there was lots of answers, but we didn't really find a solution. So maybe there's something here today that I can get from you.
Thank you, Nike. Aideen?
Aideen, yeah, I'm also tuning in from Ireland, and I'm on the teacher training program with Gabby and Aoife in Ireland at the moment. And I haven't studied Yoga Nidra, but I've practiced it and I know that I love it. And I reignited my love of it last year. I had an operation and couldn't really do much movement for 6 weeks. So I practiced Yoga Nidra every morning and evening, and I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to hearing maybe a little bit more about the theory. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? It's fine. I think thank you to everyone who already shared, and there will be, as Joy mentioned, opportunity once I finish my presentation to talk a little bit more and also share more of your experiences, because I'm sure there is plenty of shared knowledge and experience amongst us, and I would also like to learn and hear from you as well. So I will share the PowerPoint I have prepared for you. Please let me know if you can see it okay. I cannot see you now, so if you can just use your voice to tell me.
Yeah, we're seeing that. That's great, Veronika. Thank you.
Thank you. In case there is any issue with the slides flow, please step in and tell me. There will be time at the end for Q&A, so please keep your questions, note them down for the end of this session. So I would like to start also sharing a little bit about my Yoga Nidra journey. I was experiencing some relaxation techniques at yoga classes that I was attending, but first time I had opportunity to encounter Yoga Nidra as a whole practice, proper sort of that would last 40-45 minutes. It was in 2010 when I visited an ashram in Nepal where they were teaching the Swami Satyananda Yoga Nidra, or Bihar School of Yoga Nidra. And I also, as it was mentioned before by someone else, I fell in love and felt straight away that's there's something special about it for me. And I started sharing Yoga Nidra with my students afterwards as part of regular classes. The type of Yoga Nidra that is slightly shorter, maybe 20 minutes. Based on their feedback, things they were telling me, I could see that many people really come to my classes because of Yoga Nidra, or they even said it, that it's the part they're most looking forward to. So that helped me again explore and understand the power of that practice, that it has not only on me, but perhaps on other people as well. And another aspect or the impact of Yoga Nidra that I got to understand was when I was pregnant. I was actually, that's when I started using Yoga Nidra to help me with sleeping well. As you might know, in pregnancy, especially in the late stages, it's not so easy to have a good night's sleep. And for many months, I was like falling asleep with Yoga Nidra every night, and it really helped me to fall asleep and sleep well. And I was then sharing Yoga Nidra with other pregnant women. And again, I really realized through the sharing the restorative effect of the practice in pregnancy. And I was also sharing yoga with children, and I tried to incorporate not Nidra in its original form, of course, just a adapted shorter version of it in form of relaxation to the classes for children. And again, I could observe, and based on what the kids were saying, that they absolutely loved this part. And although we probably don't associate children age 5 to 9 with sort of calmness and tranquility and lying, because they are on this picture calmly, but actually they absolutely loved it. And there were kids that as well, just when they came for the class at the beginning, they were asking whether we can go straight to this part of the class. So all of these experiences really grew my interest in Yoga Nidra and led me to choose Yoga Nidra as a subject of my study as part of my final assignment for the yoga course 3rd level I was doing, as Joy already mentioned. And because I had that experience of Yoga Nidra and its effects on sleep, my personal effect, but as well some of my students, where when they were sort of sharing with me that they had issues with falling asleep or sleeping well, I usually recommended trying Yoga Nidra to them, and many of them shared that it had positive effects. So that led me to actually focus my research on the effects of Yoga Nidra on sleep. And I was looking at 3 particular aspects of that. The effects on falling asleep or sleep onset latency, which is the official terminology, overall sleep quality and dreaming, and as well the influence of quality sleep supported by Yoga Nidra on subjective well-being, both mental and physical. So I was looking at the effects noticed the following day when waking up but as well on the overall impact after regular practice of Yoga Nidra before sleep over a 14-day period. And I will explain later on a little bit more on the methodologies and exactly how I was gathering the data on that. But before I went into the collecting the data and asking participants to join my small study, I researched literature. I was interested to learn more about the definitions, as it was mentioned by one of you, that what is it actually happening in Yoga Nidra? What are origins of Yoga Nidra? I had some knowledge already, but really I wanted to understand more. So the part of my study, the first part of my study was really more sort of theoretical background, and I would like to share that with you as well. So as you might know, Yoga Nidra is a yogic practice with roots in classical yogic texts. And it was popularized in the 20th century, first by Indian and later also by Western yoga teachers. According to the earliest yogic texts, its meaning is samadhi. So as it's written by Swami Satyananda, Nidra sleep is described as a state in which the yogi, through the Anandamaya Kosha, the sheet of bliss, merges with the bliss of the Absolute, Sat Sit Ananda, and there enters absolute wakefulness, samadhi. For an ordinary person, this state is accessible only in dreamless sleep, during which conscious awareness cannot usually be maintained. And the longing for samadhi led yogis to define the practice of Yoga Nidra, through which one may partially approach samadhi. So really, Yoga Nidra is a means to approaching, accessing samadhi. And Yoga Nidra, as you might know it, experience it, as I think majority of us usually experiences it, it brings about a state at the threshold between wakefulness and sleep. So it brings a state of that we experience normally in deep sleep, but at the same time we remain aware, and we are somewhere at this threshold, these borders between these two states, or experience both of these states at the same time. I was looking at definitions of Yoga Nidra by few of the most prominent yoga teachers. So Swami Satyananda Saraswati was already mentioned here a few times. In 1976, he published a publication, Yoga Nidra, where he really summarizes his teaching on this subject. And for him, in terms of the meaning of the word, if we want to translate it literally, yoga means union or one-pointed awareness, and nidra means sleep, but he claims Yoga Nidra is simply Yoga Nidra, and we shouldn't try to translate it as such. It is a technique rooted in Tantra, which allows us to experience conscious relaxation and brings us into a state which he calls dynamic sleep. And as it was already said, one moves along the threshold between sleep and wakefulness, spontaneously connecting with the subconscious and unconscious dimensions of being. It offers us complete physical, mental, and emotional relaxation. And Swami Satyananda says that it's actually a form of pratyahara, which is a state when the mind and mental awareness are withdrawn from the sensory perception, which leads towards higher states of concentration and ultimately to samadhi. And in Yoga Nidra, the mind becomes extremely receptive, allowing for rapid learning of languages, or if we want to get rid of some unhealthy habits. And it allows us to receive intuitions from the unconscious mind, to open the third eye and connect with universal consciousness. Another important teacher of Yoga Nidra is Swami Veda Bharati. He came across very interesting publication. He has published together with Mr. Parker and Mr. Fernandez. So I will just share some of their interpretations and views on Yoga Nidra. So Swami Veda Bharati says that Yoga Nidra, or as it's often called yogic sleep, is a state with all the symptoms of deep non-REM sleep, including delta brain waves. So this is the most sound or deep sleep that we experience, while at the same time remaining fully conscious and aware. What they explain is that Yoga Nidra is often used as a synonym for relaxation. So the common practices that we often get to experience with yoga classes have little to do with traditional definitions. They're actually the preparatory processes or practices that lead toward the actual Yoga Nidra as it was described and taught originally. And they outline 4 stages and then actually a 5th stage as well to explain this in greater detail. So the first stage that we can experience in Yoga Nidra is deep relaxation. This is what we usually experience, especially if we practice for shorter periods of time. That's when in our brain, mostly alpha brain waves are present and also theta. So these are the brain waves that we experience when we are falling to sleep or at the first stages of the sleep. And this stage offers an opportunity for self-healing. The second stage, where we go a little bit more deeply, we arrive to a state of greater creativity and decision-making, and our brain experiences theta and delta waves, which are waves that are present in deeper stages of sleep. The third stage is Abhava Pratyaya, which is a term used in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. In translation, means the perception of negation in the cave of heart center. To understand, you can understand it as a meditation that leads to awareness of that which does not exist, so negation, or to the removal of false concepts at the core of our being. So if we experience this stage of Yoga Nidra, it's again, we are in our brain in presence of theta and delta waves. The fourth stage, which is the stage which was or constitutes the original aim of Yoga Nidra, it's conscious awareness or awareness of Kundalini. And then the 5th stage is Turiya, which is state also described by other teachers, for example, Swami Satyananda. And it's the highest form of meditation. It's when the highest form of meditation in samadhi becomes the normal and permanent state of individual consciousness. So it's not something temporary, but it becomes permanent. I also had the opportunity to study with Uma Dinsmore Tully of Yoga Nidra Network in the United Kingdom. And Uma, together with her husband, Nirlipta Tully, they also study Yoga Nidra and share Yoga Nidra greatly. They have 2 publications, one from 2022 about Yoga Nidra, and recently they publish also Yoga Nidra Encyclopedia, which I don't have yet, but it goes into great detail about everything on Yoga Nidra. So I'm planning to get my hands on it for sure. And the way they describe Yoga Nidra is that it is a state of peaceful being in effortless freedom. It is a meditation on the cyclical processes of falling asleep without effort. It's a lying down meditation on the threshold of sleep in which we rest fully aware and can nourish every aspect of our being. And what I explain, it shouldn't be actually considered a practice or a technique, but rather a form of consciousness. It's natural, cyclical, supportive process of being in a restful and creative state of awareness, a state to which all humans have a right and should have access to. And it's actually a state of awakening, not of sleep, although it's so much related to sleep. And it's not something that can be done because it's actually a state of being. It moves through all the brainwaves states associated with falling asleep and sleep, so beta, alpha, theta, and delta, and therefore brings a profound sense of relaxation and rest. And someone already mentioned in the introductions Dr. Richard Miller and his iRest method, which is a well-known method. Dr. Miller is based in the United States. I think he's psychologist or psychiatrist. And he describes Yoga Nidra as a sleep or changing states of consciousness, as a process of meditative self-inquiry rooted in classical yogic teachings. That teaches us to observe our thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and experiences without judgment and without becoming entangled in or rejecting them. It offers a direct experience of who and what we truly are, reflecting the yogic non-dual understanding of reality, meaning understanding that there is just one universal consciousness that we are part of, and experience that through Yoga Nidra. The ability to consciously rest as non-dual, unchanging, and wakeful presence amidst the changing circumstances of life. And the iRest method of Yoga Nidra that he has developed, he describes as an accessible and interrogative meditation that supports the healing of unresolved issues and trauma, while also serving as a regenerative process by helping practitioners find the inner peace of the mind that is always present, regardless of life's changing conditions. He has done actually lots of research on the effects of iRest method on dealing with stress, stress-related conditions and illnesses, trauma, including post-traumatic stress disorders, showing great effects of Nidra on those conditions. And as it was mentioned already in the definitions by these yogic teachers, it's obvious that Yoga Nidra is rooted in some of the original teachings and texts of Yoga Nidra, of yoga. And thanks to my teacher, Geza Timchak, I was able to also learn about reference to Yoga Nidra in some of the original classic yogic texts. For example, Yoga Taravali, verse 25, states, when sankalpa resolve and vikalpa, doubt or imagination, are removed, karma no longer acts, and desires as well as avidya, ignorance, are eliminated. Through uninterrupted practice, only then does the blissful state of Yoga Nidra, meaning samadhi, arise. Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is one of the key yogic texts on which Hatha Yoga teachings are based, says, Kechari Mudra should be practiced until Yoga Nidra occurs. For the one who has attained Yoga Nidra, time ceases to exist. And the Bhagavad Gita, which actually precedes Tantra text, says, what all beings consider as day is night for the wise, and what beings see as night is day for the introspective sage. So there is no direct reference to Yoga Nidra, but it can be somehow linked to later interpretations and teachings of Yoga Nidra. So we can see that really the roots of Yoga Nidra, the earliest references are in those original yogic texts. But the Yoga Nidra, as it's taught these days, as we know it, can be said that one of the fathers or the self-identified founder of the contemporary Yoga Nidra practice is Swami Satyananda Saraswati from the Bihar School of Yoga. He actually, in his book, he shares a story how he realized that he was able to memorize and learn mantra chants chanted by young boys in the same ashrams where he was, and they were chanting these mantras while he was asleep. And then on certain occasion, he could recall all these mantras. So that caught his attention, made him realize that although he was in deep sleep, there was still some awareness that enabled him to be aware and learn those chants. And that led him to researching actually the tantric teachings. And based on his findings, he then developed the practice of Yoga Nidra. And it's based, according to him, on a tantric practice of nyasa, which involves the conscious rotation or rotation of awareness. But he removed of the symbolic and more ceremonial practices or aspects of this practice. Dr. Miller of the I-Rest technique or methodology, he himself claims that it's a modern adaptation of a classical Yoga Nidra based on teachings of Swami Sivananda, who was the teacher of Swami Satyananda Saraswati, as well as Swami Rama of Himalaya Institute, Swami Veda Bharati, and Ramurti as Mishra. So it's already building on the teachings of the Bihar School of Yoga. And as I was already mentioning, there is lots of body of research on its effects on management of stress and trauma. And Uma Dinsmore Tully and Nirlipta Tully of Yoga Nidra Network, they explain that Yoga Nidra is an ancient sacred practice, but now widely adapted into modern, secular, and commercial forms often. And that actually no single individual invented Yoga Nidra as we know it. Many modern schools have rewritten its history to credit their founders. They explained that according to their research, the modern methods stem from two ancient Indian traditions, and that's the worshipping of goddess and yogic traditions. And they claim that the first actual references to Yoga Nidra are in Devi Mahatmya from around the 6th century, where that describes Yoga Nidra Shakti, the goddess who controls sleep and can awaken Vishnu, the creator of the universe, to save the cosmos, or Brahma. They very interestingly actually talk about other liminal states of consciousness as a route for connecting to the universal creative force of other cultures. So that very similar practices leading to similar aims or the same aims were also developed by Aboriginals in Australia through their system called Dreamtime, Toltec dreaming, Tibetan dream yoga, and also Native American vision quests. And they also describe influences on Yoga Nidra outside of yoga tradition and yoga teaching. They talk about different, mostly physicians or doctors in the West who develop different relaxation and auto-suggestion techniques that help shape the structure and scientific grounding of modern Yoga Nidra. So amongst those influences are Annie Payson Cole, she was American writer, Roger Vitos, Swiss physician, Emilie Coué, French psychologist, Edmund Jacobson, American psychiatrist, or Herbert Benson, Harvard cardiologist. And most of them, they undertook research studies as well that show the effect of such relaxation and auto-suggestion techniques on mental and physical health and well-being. So they conclude that Indian philosophy influenced these Western physicians, while Western medical research shaped modern Yoga Nidra. So there was actually a mutual exchange that brought Yoga Nidra to the stage where it is now. So after looking at Yoga Nidra from all these lenses and aspects, as I was interested in the connection of Yoga Nidra and sleep and effects of Yoga Nidra and sleep, I was also researching some existing literature to understand better what's happening during the sleep and what are the factors that what constitutes good optimal sleep, what are the most common sleep disorders, and as well what are the factors that actually impact our sleep. So in tantric texts, falling asleep can be understood as withdrawal of consciousness through chakras to its cosmic source through Sahasrara, seventh chakra. The difference between Yoga Nidra and sleep is that in Yoga Nidra, consciousness stays active while body and mind rest deeply. Actually, in a lot of the yogic texts, as you could see, based on what I shared already, the connection to sleep between Yoga Nidra and sleep, it's obvious, but not just in relation to Yoga Nidra, but when it comes to different states of consciousness, even Upanishads are talking about the state of deep sleep as one of the states of the core consciousness that we can experience. When we look at contemporary studies of sleep and what is happening to our brains during sleep, it's important to know that we experience sleep cycles during sleep. One sleep cycle has 5 phases: non-rapid eye movement phases 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's when we are dreaming, and then rapid eye movement when the brain is resting. So that's the 5th phase. One such cycle constitutes 90 minutes, and we usually experience between 5 to 6 such cycles per night, depending on how long we sleep. And as it was already mentioned, there are different brain waves occurring in our brains while we sleep. And they range from alpha. Beta is when we are fully awake. Alpha is the state state or the wave when we are falling asleep. So it usually occurs during non-REM stage 1, and then theta in stage 2, and 3 and 4, it's theta and delta. In non-REM 1 phase or state, this state is also known as hypnagogic state, and it's a phase we occupy the most while practicing Yoga Nidra. And Satyananda Saraswati explains that in deep NREM sleep, so that constitutes stages 3 and 4, consciousness and prana withdraw to the creative source, and this state is called the night of Brahma or womb of creation, and it's when samaskaras are inactive and the unconscious mind is accessed. In REM sleep, the subconscious mind becomes active, bringing forth suppressed desires, fears, and deeply rooted samskaras. So this is the understanding of what is happening during sleep, according to Satyananda Saraswati. When we look at what constitutes healthy or optimal sleep, there are some studies of American Sleep Association that recommend 7 hours for adults, and studies that show that when we sleep less or more, then such sleep patterns are linked to poorer health and poorer cognition. But it's important to know that this amount of time differs according to the age. So for smaller children, it's much longer period, 9 to 11 hours. For young people, it's again, there is different range, and for seniors as well. And as well, it's important to understand that how we understand sleep and what constitutes healthy sleep or optimal sleep, it's determined by culture and society we live in. Before the industrialization, actually people used to practice so-called biphasic sleep, which meant that people wouldn't sleep in sort of one go, but they would usually go to bed, fall asleep when the night came, when the light, after the sunset. They would sleep for a few hours, then usually wake up around midnight, be awake for a few hours, engage in conversations, reading, or do something, and then go again to sleep and wake up with the sun rising. And actually, it's the industrial era and the change of society that required people to work different 8-hour or even longer shifts that actually contributed to changing patterns of sleep in society. But we can still see biphasic sleep, for example, in siesta cultures in Spain, Portugal, Greece, where they still divide the sleep into 2 different periods during the 24 hours of a day. When it comes to common disorders of sleep, insomnia, so issues with falling asleep and sleeping, restless legs, narcolepsy, which is a condition when one is constantly tired and falls asleep at any point without often sort of realizing or the ability to control it, and sleep apnea, which is related to breathing during sleep. And some studies show that in the United States, 10 to 15% of adults experience chronic insomnia. I was also looking for some statistics on Slovakia, and I wasn't able to find really verifiable source, but there were some sources that claimed that 1/3 of Slovaks suffer from insomnia. So it's an issue that is relatively prevalent. And when it comes to disruptors of sleep, stress is one of the key factors. Industrialization and the lifestyle linked to that, including artificial light, screen exposure, lifestyle habits of drinking alcohol or a lot of caffeine, but also chronic illnesses. And very interestingly, also lower socioeconomic status is one of the very important factors that can lead to sleep disorders. That's based on a study by Papadopoulos and Soso from 2023. And going back to stress as a key factor, what is important to note is that some people have high stress reactivity, and those that have such condition are much more affected than the stress much more affects their sleep quality. And for them, it's stress is a major determinant of sleep disturbances. So stress might not be as a significant factor for every certain person. It might be also in relation to this high stress reactivity of the neurological system. I was also looking at what the existing studies actually say about the effects of Yoga Nidra on sleep, studies or literature, and how the existing literature explains how Yoga Nidra can impact sleep. So what Satyananda Saraswati explains is that as Yoga Nidra arises on the boundary between sensory and sleep consciousness, extending the short hypnagogic state that normally lasts between 3 to 5 minutes into sustained experience leads to deep relaxation with greater benefits than ordinary sleep. And it opens the door to higher states can open the door to higher states of consciousness, but as well prolonging the alpha state supports more relaxed forms of sleep afterwards. Yoga Nidra enables us to release physical, mental, and emotional tension, and therefore it then enables us to fall asleep more easily and improves overall sleep quality. And Satyananda Saraswati talks about relation or the effects of Yoga Nidra on dreams and dreaming as well. As it connects us to our inner teacher through spontaneous dreaming, it leads to insights and enriching daily life, but it can also heighten dream awareness, helping us to recall and understand dreams that are usually forgotten or only partially remembered. So based on this, I also included this aspect in my study, and I was trying to look if people that participated in the study also were experiencing heightened dream awareness. Dinsmore Tully and Tully, they explain the alpha state that Yoga Nidra brings is a place of calm ease and timeless presence. And Yoga Nidra makes this state accessible without mental training. It's much more accessible as a practice to people as other forms of meditation. And the transition into Theta and Delta brings deep rest and stress relief. In Delta, we can briefly be aware of pure being. And what Yoga Nidra does is that it impacts holistically all 5 koshas. So all the layers of our being, body, Annamaya Kosha, vitality, Pranamaya Kosha, mind and emotions, Manomaya Kosha, intuition, Vijnamaya Kosha, and bliss, Anandamaya. And actually, by addressing all the layers of our being, Yoga Nidra relieves tension and restores balance and improves sleep quality. It relieves tensions across all those 5 layers. And therefore, it's so powerful. And in terms of studies, there is a study by Dr. Sheely from 1979, who was studying relaxation techniques to reduce sleep onset latency, and actually showed that Yoga Nidra or relaxation techniques similar to Yoga Nidra help people to fall asleep in much shorter periods. And there is also a study by Sharp et al. From 2023 that proved that Yoga Nidra had effect on slowing breathing frequency in adults with insomnia. But they were studying also other aspects, and they only proved impact on the breathing frequency, but they are saying that actually this is a very good ground for further study, and it's something that should be researched more in greater detail. And I was perhaps not, I'm sure I didn't find all the studies that exist on this subject, but at the same time I was quite surprised that I didn't come across more of studies that would look specifically, or not just maybe personal experience of individual practitioners, but trying to look at it across larger groups and try to understand what is actually happening from the point of the physiology of the brain and body. So now moving on to mine study that try to somehow in very small scale complement this existing body of literature on Yoga Nidra and sleep. In this study, I involved 7 people, men and women, aged 41 to 59. It was a mix of yoga practitioners, but also people that didn't practice yoga at all. Some with health issues, diabetes specifically, or some based on their claims completely healthy individuals, and also people that claim they had some sleep problems, and those that claim they didn't have any. The study was conducted in September and October last year in Košice, where I live. And I provided a specifically prepared Yoga Nidra recording that was designed to enable people listening to the recording to transition into sleep and have a quality sleep. I asked all the participants to keep sleep diary, which was a semi-structured questionnaire with closed and open-ended questions. You had the opportunity to complete it in online or printed version. And they were asked to complete this sleep diary and answer the same set of questions on how they subjectively assessed the falling asleep, the sleep onset latency, quality of the sleep, and how they felt the day afterwards. And to reflect on these 5 days without practicing Yoga Nidra, and then practice Yoga Nidra before going to sleep for 14 days, and recording it during this period as well. So all the data that I work with were their subjective evaluations of overall condition and sleep before. So they were subjective evaluation of the experiences of each day and night of these 19 days, but also I asked them for subjective evaluations of the overall condition and sleep before the entire study and after. So I asked them to answer some questions before they even enter the study, and then after the 19-day period. In terms of the data analysis, so I used descriptive methods when I was looking at the percentages of answers and compare them across the period of not practicing Yoga Nidra and then practicing Yoga Nidra, looking at some central tendencies. I also developed case study of each participant, so looked at the analysis of data at the individual level, and then try to find some common trends, whether we can make, I mean, it's very small sample, but make any generalization or say that something occurred in all the participants, or what were the results that we can say we can see based on some prevalence amongst the participants. And since I also asked them to give some open-ended reflections at the end of the study on how they perceive the effects of Yoga Nidra on their sleep and the general well-being. I was also doing some qualitative keyword analysis, so looking at what words they were actually using in these reflections, and looking if I can make any conclusions from those. So what I found was that Yoga Nidra may positively influence both the overall quality of sleep and how a person subjectively feels the following day. So I want to stress that this was all based on their subjective reflections. The most significant impact was on perceived sleep quality, so how participants perceived the quality of the sleep. And that's when I saw increase in positive ratings across periods in all respondents. So every respondent actually rated sleep quality much more positively when practicing Yoga Nidra than in the period before. And then also data that were asking about the sleep continuity, so whether they were sleeping the whole night or whether they woke up. When they woke up, whether it was easy for them to fall asleep again or not. So data on the sleep continuity supported this result, though improvement was seen only in 4 out of 7 respondents. Also, I observed positive effect on feeling rested upon waking and having enough energy during the following day after practicing Yoga Nidra. 6 out of 7 respondents reported a positive change in the period of practicing Yoga Nidra. And of these, 2 reported a significant change and 4 moderate change. So I would like to share some of the feedback that they shared as well. I will not read this. I will just let you to read it. So you can see also in their words how they reflected on the impact of Yoga Nidra. What surprised me was that there was no confirmed significant effect on sleep duration. Actually, the sleep duration, there were some minor changes, but really it wasn't significant at all, and nothing that could sort of, nothing that was showing some sort of trend across participants. And I presumed that Yoga Nidra would either prolong the sleep or maybe shorten it. And there was ambiguous impact on dreaming or recall of dreams. 5 respondents reported positive changes in dreaming. 4 of them reported increased dream recall while they were practicing Yoga Nidra, but 3 actually reported decreased recall. So this was quite interesting. And I can say that from my own experience, actually practicing Yoga Nidra, not necessarily before sleep, but during day, quite intensely impacted my dream recall. Yeah, I mean, my study obviously was during a limited time period, but still this data quite surprised me that it was so contradictory. And what also surprised me was there was no confirmed positive effect on sleep onset latency. So this was in contradiction with the study of Ms. Sheely. Here in this graph, you can see that it was really actually a mix of results. So significant and moderate positive impact on falling asleep was seen amongst around 43% of participants, and the rest experienced either negative. So actually, while practicing Yoga Nidra, it became more difficult for them to fall asleep. Then same percentage actually reported that there was no change at all. So this was again very mixed, and something that sort of interests me, and is probably worth of some further inquiry. Looking at the subjective assessment at the end of the study, so this was sort of asking participants to reflect on the overall sleep quality and also mental and physical well-being, whether they can see any changes, how they feel at the end of the study. Majority of the respondents actually reported positive effects, but not everyone attributed the changes directly to Yoga Nidra. Some specifically mentioned some other reasons, or some said that they don't think it's because of Yoga Nidra, although they didn't have different explanation. And looking at the qualitative analysis of keywords, this was again interesting because this again contradicted some of the other data from the sleep diaries. So 71 of respondents, so quite a big majority, described that Yoga Nidra brought better, calmer, and more continuous sleep. That they experienced more pleasant, soothing, or faster sleep onset. Again, that was 72%, so significant majority. And one respondent explicitly stated that Yoga Nidra helped her regain the ability to dream. When it comes to the overall mental and physical state, 57% didn't observe any changes that they could attribute to Yoga Nidra, versus 29% observed positive changes. 29% stated that they were looking forward to practicing Yoga Nidra before sleep, and 43% claimed that they were going to continue with Yoga Nidra before sleep. So these numbers actually encouraged me, and I was really, really pleased to see that actually this involvement in the study offered them a practice that almost half of them wanted to continue practice. Also here are some of the reflections from the participants. I will not read them aloud. I will just let you read them. And another. So the conclusion that I was able to arrive at, that despite the limitation of the study, of course it was a very small sample. Also, the data were based on subjective feedback of the participants. There, due to practical reasons, I was not able to use some technology that would perhaps monitor the physiological level, what was happening to the participants during sleep, when they, how long it took them to fall asleep, perhaps like looking at the presence of the brain waves and so on. And of course, there was no control group and data I could compare it with. But despite that, the conclusion is that Yoga Nidra can improve for some people overall sleep quality. And it can impact how the person feels the following day, thanks to quality sleep induced by Yoga Nidra. And based on the Explore literature, it can be deduced that thanks to improved quality of sleep, Yoga Nidra can positively impact different aspects of the overall health and minimize occurrence of diseases caused by insufficient sleep or stress. So therefore, I would definitely recommend to practice Yoga Nidra for those that have issues with sleep, and as well to study this issue further. Before I finish, I would like to also share with you some recommended practices for Yoga Nidra for better sleep. So Bihar School of Yoga, their recommended approach is to lie in bed in Shavasana, hands positioned comfortably with palms down. Start by becoming aware of external sounds, bringing the sounds closer, so then becoming aware of sounds in the room and of the body. Then focus on becoming aware of meeting points between your body and the bed or surface the person lies on. And then undertaking 2 or 3 rotations of consciousness around your body, as we know from Yoga Nidra. And in case the sleep doesn't arrive within these rotations of consciousness, then start doing mental alternate nostril breathing, so counting from 54 to 1. Another technique recommended by Yoga Nidra Network, and this is actually the one that I use for the recording that I shared with the participants. It's to start with a technique which they called cleaning the pot. It's actually reviewing the day before sleep. So starting with the moment we woke up and just letting the mind go without any force, just naturally go through the day, through everything we experience during the day, until the moment we lie into the bed to start practicing Yoga Nidra. And this can be done from morning until the point, the present moment, or in the reverse orders. So from the moment we are in towards the morning. Then settling deeper into rest. So noticing all parts of the body touching the surface below, and focusing really on releasing weight towards the surface. So moving from head to toes, and repeat until the whole weight of the body is held by the surface we lie on. And then moving on to the rotation of consciousness, but in a way that as we rotate consciousness through different points of our body, inviting sleep or rest into these parts, and doing that with awareness and love towards ourselves. And also it's important to acknowledge we should let ourselves drift away to sleep. And also they recommend laying for people suffering anxiety, lying on the left side, which helps to reduce the emotions or feeling of anxiousness, and practicing Yoga Nidra like that. And sharing some of my recommendations as well, I also used Sankalpa for peaceful, restful sleep at the start and towards the end of the practice. Counting down breath really works for me personally. So as it was recommended by Bihar School of Yoga, and having a comfortable bed without a snoring companion definitely helps as well. So I will stop sharing now, and we can move on to questions. If you have any, I will try my best to answer them. And I also have a few questions that I would love to share with you and sort of speak as a group about. So if there is time, we can also look at those, but please, yeah, over to you, whatever you want to ask or share about Yoga Nidra and sleep.
Veronika, thank you very much indeed for this extremely comprehensive, very interesting discussion of Yoga Nidra. Really very interesting indeed. I'm sure people will have, maybe they've got personal experiences they want to talk about or things they want to ask. One question that occurred to me when you were talking about children. So at the beginning, you were talking about teaching Yoga Nidra to children. And I think you mentioned that the sessions tended to be shorter. I was just wondering, would there be other specific changes that you would make to Yoga Nidra practice for children? Other things that you would do or that you wouldn't do?
Yes. So apart from time, which range from 5 to 10 minutes max, but it really depends. Sometimes they would just get so into it that I could feel that I could just let them be there longer. One thing that really helped is that as we are doing the rotation, is for them to lift the part of the body that we are putting consciousness on, or touching it. So to have that sort of not just using the mind, but also touch. I also, to connect with the breath, usually ask children to put hands on their tummy and to really like feel the breath as well. And maybe imagine that it's like is the word in English swaddle, the ones, or like a swing, as when they were perhaps little and parents or someone used to swing them to sleep. So to remind them of that. And for children, it's very important to ground them, to really sort of use the vocabulary that grounds rather than lifts them. So those are sort of, yeah, practices that work for me, but I would be very happy to learn if anyone has any other experience.
So more kind of concrete grounding rather than abstract.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody else want to come in with a comment or a question? Or maybe everybody is dying to just go ahead and have a Yoga Nidra practice with Veronika. It might well be the case. Yeah, Elizabeth.
I have very little experience of Yoga Nidra, but what intrigues me is the lifting of each finger and of each toe. In fact, when you were talking about children, I'm thinking of when I was told to turn my attention to my thumb, my finger, and then the big toe, and the next toe, and the next toe. The only way I could think of it was moving them, perhaps not each individual toe. So why is that part of Yoga Nidra? Every sort of single digit, really.
Well, I personally think it's like the more detailed you go, the slower you move the consciousness, the more you sort of slow down by Lawrence. Slow down, and actually it enables you to work more deeper through the practice. What you mentioned, I can see it often on my students, that although I don't instruct to lift, I just sort of rotate the consciousness, but I can see, especially on when it comes to fingers and toes, that they actually move them. I guess that's just then based on the preference, and some people do it without realizing it to connect with that part of the body. But please, if anyone has some answer to contribute, I would be very...
Yeah. So I think, as I said, like we were discussing this very recently in a small group of yoga teachers, and we were all saying, well, because we all noticed that we fall asleep, or at least we're not very conscious because we don't remember half of the instructions that we received. So are we actually asleep, or what are we when we're in Yoga Nidra? So why don't we hear, or is it just our subconscious that hears? So I don't know. It's kind of, do you have more to say about that?
I think based on what the literature I read, and the more I was sort of exploring, is that Yoga Nidra should bring about the same state as we experience when we sleep, when we are in deep sleep. Also as I was mentioning before, when we talk about different states of consciousness, deep sleep is one of those, and the one that then leads us to actually connection with the universal consciousness. So I think that's what we are trying to achieve, but at the same time we should keep the connection with the awareness. So that's the difference between the sleep, where we are just fully not just at the physical level but mental level, becoming, or as it's described, our consciousness sort of is linked to super consciousness. But in Yoga Nidra, we want to stay connected with the awareness, with the instructions, with what's going on in the room. There is a study described of, I think it was Swami Rama in US in some research lab, where they actually were monitoring his brain waves, and his brain was really showing delta waves, showing that he was in this sleep. And apparently he was able to recall all the conversation that were happening in the room with the researchers and so on. So in a way, this is something that should occur. But actually, this was one of my questions that I would love to explore and hear your take on it as well, because I think it often happens, probably almost in every Yoga Nidra session, that someone falls asleep completely and starts to snore. So they are in a proper deep sleep. And how do you then talk to them about that experience? Like, I usually say it's fine. That's probably what you needed. You were so tired that you just needed to have a proper rest. And usually with experience, it probably changes, that people are able to hold that awareness at the same time. But I'm also just wondering, what are your experiences with that, and how to talk to students about it as well? What's actually happening?
I generally find that if people do fall asleep, whether it's in, Yoga Nidra or Shavasana, what I tend to experience is that they kind of need to be reassured, because they feel quite embarrassed that they've fallen asleep. And then they start wondering if they snored or, did something else embarrassing or whatever. So they kind of seem to need the reassurance that, don't worry, it was okay. And, it wasn't the intention, but that seems to be the first sort of thing that they need, in my experience. I don't know about other people.
I've been at classes for Yoga Nidra before where the teacher might say at the beginning, you know, you try not to fall asleep, but don't worry if you do. And if worry, it's just me. And that's really everybody else in the room, but they maybe have a subconscious awareness, then, you know, they're not going to be rudely interrupted. They know what the interruption is and why it's coming.
Yeah, it's also important to, I think, enable others when it happens not to get caught up in someone maybe falling asleep and even like snoring, but just focusing on their experience.
I think Muriel wanted to come in as well. Did you want to say something maybe on another question, Muriel?
Yes, please. About snoring, I think it's the same than you. And so I'm not sure I understood exactly, because you said at some point that your study was do the Yoga Nidra before sleep, and you ask a question like, did you fall asleep during the rotation of consciousness? So that was a point you expected them to sleep or not? Because you just explained, and that's what I've learned, that you should not be really sleeping, that your consciousness is going different level of waves. So
It's a very good question. So thank you. I perhaps didn't explain that. If you want to practice Yoga Nidra specifically to help improve your sleep, whether it's to fall asleep or just have a better overall sleep quality, there should be a special recording of Yoga Nidra, because if you use a general one, which of course guides people not to fall asleep, and at the end it actually wakes them up and sort of brings them up, that might be actually disturbing. So the Yoga Nidra for sleep should specifically invite the sleep, allow yourself, oneself to go to let yourself to sleep, to come over, and to, cannot find the word now, but there should be specific recording, and it's actually the objective is to fall asleep during, ideally after or during, it's okay as well. The participants of the study, they often said that after some time, maybe not at the beginning, but then they would just turn on the recording, and within like 5 minutes they would be asleep, or even just few minutes. So already like their brain was used to it, knowing what it's coming, and it drifted them into the sleep much faster than in the first days.
So my next question is, does it exist like this special Yoga Nidra for sleep, or do you create your own Yoga Nidra scenarios and text? And is it allowed like to change for example, I'm only using Nidra I find on books, and I was wondering, like, am I allowed to change sometimes, for example, visualization, if they say imagine a sky without clouds, am I allowed to say imagine this type of flowers? You know what I mean? Like, are you creative, or are you just using traditional text?
Well, I was combining sort of some recommendations from the Swami Satyananda, so which was there on one of the last slides, and also the recommendations of Yoga Nidra Network. They actually dedicate quite a lot of their work to sleep Yoga Nidra. There are a few recordings that are actually, when you go to their website, you can just access them, listen to them. So I sort of use their guidance, but I think it's important, I don't know, for me, not to go according to prescribed script, but to also put like yourself into it as a teacher. I know some schools, especially Bihar School of Yoga, they're quite structured and quite that you should follow very specific structure of Yoga Nidra, but then some teachers, some schools are a little bit more flexible with that. So yeah, I also tend to be a little bit more flexible, but of course, like based on recommendation of more experienced teachers.
Thank you. Sorry, one last question. This is very practical. Sometimes I read that when you do, how you say in English, décompte, like breathing from 108 to 1, sometimes it's also 108 to 0, of, like you said, 54. So what does it mean? What is the difference? Should you target 0 or 1? I mean, anyway, I'm never reaching this level, but what is the difference and what does it mean exactly?
You're asking whether it's like 1 or 0, and when
yes, and why also 108, sometimes 54, sometimes I think I've seen I forgot 18 or like multiple from one.
I think there are counts of 3, so it's like 3, 9, 18, 27, 54, 108. And to be honest, I have to admit I don't really know what is the reason behind this number, but these are obviously the numbers of repetitions that are used when chanting mantras as well, or in some other practices. And from what I know, you should go down to 0, not stop at 1, but go down to 0 and then start counting again if you are not if the aim is to fall asleep, then yeah, of course. And as well, if you get lost in counting, as again, go back to the original number down to 0.
Thank you.
Veronika, there's also a question in the chat about wearable devices to track how people were sleeping. Did you use anything like that, or was it just basically the sleep diary, people reporting their own experience?
It was just the sleep diary, but actually that's what I realized, that because as alternative to the sleep diary, I thought like, okay, you would have to be in some control environment with some devices. But then I realized that now we all have, or many people have some watches that actually track their function. So if I continue somehow with this study, then that's what I thought, that this would be a sort of quite accessible way how to get some other data and more objective data.
Thank you for that. Yeah, Elizabeth.
I forgot to say before my last question, thank you so much for this, because it's been a really rich presentation. But what I was really interested in was how you linked Yoga Nidra with Samadhi and the effects of Yoga Nidra on the following day. It made me think that sometimes it has the same effect as deep meditation, and deep meditation, when practiced regularly, will impact your following day. And I was wondering whether you saw any similarities with that at all.
Definitely, yeah. I think it also really depends. There are different aspects to it. One is the spiritual. So yeah, if you're able to access your subconsciousness and unconsciousness and release some tensions from there as well. If you're able to have perhaps some experiences of, as it was sort of expressed as experiencing the pure being, or connected with the universal consciousness, then of course it's going to impact how you feel, how you interact with the world around you. I think on the physiological level, with concern with the study, there is like for me, very simple connection that we all know it. If we have a good sleep, if we are really rested, then we are usually in better mood, calmer, feel better energetically the next day. So I think it impacts both. And Yoga Nidra is really, it's as it was said, like often it's practice, or even the term Yoga Nidra is used for very short form of relaxation at the end of the class, which perhaps can bring about some release of tension, but doesn't go so in depth. But then if you practice Yoga Nidra for longer periods, at least 20 minutes, but 40, 45 minutes, you go through all the stages of Yoga Nidra according to the original scripts, then it is a form of very effective meditation that can really bring about different states of visualization and understanding perhaps of different states of being that then impact you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more contributions or any more comments or questions from anybody? A few people have had to leave, obviously, because we're now about an hour and a half in. So I don't know, Veronika, how you're feeling about adding on now some practice, or whether you've been talking and exchanging with us for about an hour and a half now. So I'm conscious that you've already been doing an awful lot. So I don't want to kind of require you to do even more, as it were.
I think, let's just, those of us who are still here, can say if you feel like having a short practice of about 15-20 minutes of Yoga Nidra, so we don't just talk about it. But it's completely fine if you say no. You also had enough, because I know being for an hour and a half in front of computer, it's not easy. So we can also leave it here. So over to you.
Yeah, Nike also has to leave. Maybe other people do. Yeah, thank you very much for coming along. Thank you. Bye-bye. How are other people feeling? We can either go ahead or not. As Veronika said, it's very much up to you. Yeah, one vote there, a couple of votes in favor. We've got 3 votes in favor. Yeah.
Maybe I fall asleep, so I say goodbye before Yoga Nidra.
It's okay. It won't be actually a sleep Yoga Nidra, because I obviously don't want you to fall asleep yet. Okay, so let's go for it. I am happy to share.
Thank you.
And obviously, if anyone is not into it and wants to sign off, feel free as well at this point. Okay, so please change your position. I can see that most of you were sitting, so it would be great if you could lie down in a comfortable position, ideally on the floor, or even feel free to lie on a bed or sofa, and try to make yourself really comfortable. So if you want to support your head, sometimes it can be quite comfortable to support your knees from below with a cushion or bolster, and also to cover yourself with a blanket or scarf. And ideally lie in Shavasana, so lying on the back with feet apart, relax to the sides, and also hands relax next to the body with palms facing towards the sky. And let's start with the 3 deep inhales and exhales, with exhales being releasing any tension from the body. So you can inhale through the nose and exhale through the lips, mouth. And now feel your body is settled on the ground beneath you. Bring your attention to all those parts of your body that are touching the surface beneath you. And just realize that experience of your body touching the floor or bed or whatever is underneath. And move your attention, awareness to all those points, moving from one to the next. And then shift your awareness towards feeling your body touching cloth, blanket. And realize that sensation of your body touching cloth, which is perhaps a little bit softer than your body touching the surface beneath. And again, try to move your awareness through all those points, touching the cloth, material surrounding you. And then move your awareness to your skin, touching air around you. Very soft sensation of touch. And again, try to move from one part of the body to the next. And another. Being fully aware of all those points, touching, different experience of the touch. And then bring your attention towards your heart. And say for yourself, repeat it 3 times, your sankalpa for today's Yoga Nidra practice. Putting that sankalpa into your heart. And I offer you sankalpa, since we were talking about good sleep. And you can use sankalpa tonight. I will have a restful and nourishing sleep. Or whatever other sankalpa that comes to you from your heart, from your mind. And now move your attention towards the right palm and relax the finger, big finger on your right palm. And then move towards the index finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger. And relax all the fingers on your right palm. And relax the whole right palm. And then move your attention towards the elbow. As you move the attention, relax the individual parts of your body. Relax the right elbow. Relax the entire right hand. Arm. Right shoulder. And move your attention towards the left shoulder. Relax your left shoulder. Relax your left arm, left elbow. Moving on to the left palm of the hand. By bringing your attention, relax. Big finger on the left side, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and little finger. And feel both of your hands are heavy, relaxed, complete stillness. And then move your attention towards the body, the chest. Relax the right and then left part of your chest. Then move your attention towards the belly, abdominal wall. Relax the right side and left side. Relax the whole right side of the body and left side of the trunk. And moving your attention towards pelvis and relaxing right side of the pelvis. And then right leg, tight. The front and back of the thigh. Relax right knee, lower part of right leg, right foot, its top and bottom part. And relax big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe. Then move to the left side of your pelvis. Relaxing, moving your attention alongside the left leg, left thigh. Stop your back part. Relax your left knee, bottom part of your left leg. Relax your left foot, big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe. Be aware that both your hands and legs are relaxed. Still, your whole front of the body is relaxed. Experience stillness. Now move your attention towards the back part of your body. Relax, release tension from your buttocks, right side, left side, and your sitting bones, the right side and left side. And then slowly moving up, alongside, back. Moving slowly, centimeter by centimeter, upwards alongside the spine. And as you move your attention, relax vertebrae, and relax right shoulder blade and left shoulder blade. And then moving onto the neck. Relax your neck. Relax the backside of your head. Relax the crown, the top of your head. And then bring your awareness towards your face. And bring your attention to your forehead. Relax your forehead. Relax the right eyebrow and left eyebrow. Eyelids on the right eye. Feel the eyelids touching softly. And then move on to the left eye. Relax eyelids on the left eye and left eye. Being aware of the eyelids touching. And relax your nose alongside its whole length, from where it starts, all the way to the tip of the nose. And relax the right cheek, left cheek, chin, lips. Be aware of the lips softly touching. And relax your jaws, teeth. And then move down the throat, the front side of the neck. Feeling your whole body. Your whole body is fully relaxed. The whole front of the body is fully relaxed. The back side of the body is fully relaxed. All the limbs are resting in a state of nourishing, conscious, deep rest. And then move your attention towards your chest. And watch your breath moving through the chest. Inhale and exhale, moving through this part of your body. Let's count 27 breaths. Focusing on the breath moving through the chest, through the heart chakra, area of the heart. We're starting with the first inhale and exhale at 27, and then moving down to 0. And in case you get lost in counting, just bring your attention back to number 27 and continue counting down towards 0. And we will stop the count. Now shift your awareness to the whole body and feeling how your body is becoming heavy, heavy, and heavier. Imagine that it's just as heavy as you can imagine, the heaviest thing, the whole world. So heavy that you cannot move. The maximum heaviness incorporates your whole body. And then let this feeling of heaviness be changed for a feeling of lightness, as if your body is becoming completely light as a feather, as light as air surrounding you, as if you were almost levitating from the ground. And then again, let this feeling of lightness be transformed into the feeling of heaviness, your body feeling as heavy as you can imagine, being extremely heavy, extremely heavy. And then again, let this feeling of heaviness be changed into feeling of complete lightness, your body being very, very light. as light as it can be. And then try experiencing both of these states at the same time. The feeling of absolute heaviness and absolute lightness at the same time. Having both of these states in your body, in your experience of being at the same time. And then let this feeling drift away and move your attention into Chidaksha, the inner space of your mind. Focusing your attention onto the space between the eyebrows. And just feel this empty space. And then visualize yourself in a place where you feel safe and calm. Imagine you are in a place where you feel really happy and safe, where you can be yourself, release all the tension, you feel accepted, nourished and happy. And imagine yourself in this place, sitting or doing whatever comes to your mind. And feel fully the feeling of happiness, gratefulness, and deep inner peace that this place invokes in you. You can imagine other people being in this place with you that bring about the same feelings of safety, calmness, love, gratefulness. Feel all these feelings to release throughout your being, your experience of being. And then again become aware of Chidaksha, the inner space of your mind. Focusing on the space between your eyebrows. And bring your awareness back to Sankalpa, with which you were starting the practice. And again, repeat the Sankalpa 3 times. And plant it deeply into your heart. So it can grow from there, become a reality. And slowly move your awareness towards your breath. Be aware how your body is changing thanks to inhale and exhale, how the breath moves through your body. Become aware of the sound of your breath. And become aware of other sounds of your body. Become aware of your body on the floor or surface you are lying on. Become aware of surroundings, the room you are in, building, the world around, sky with clouds, maybe already dark with stars. And start to be aware of the sounds coming from the surroundings. Bring your mind back from the inner awareness to the awareness of the world around you. And slowly, with love, waking up your body, moving fingers on your palms, and toes, your feet, moving head from side to side, or making any other movement that you feel like doing, that your body wants to do. And then when you are ready, you can turn to one or the other side, wherever it takes you. Bringing knees towards the head and resting for a few more moments in this position. Of the unborn child. And then when you are ready, you can slowly sit up with your eyes still closed, if that's okay, or just opening them up a little, focusing on the ground. And then once you sit, you can put your palms together and start moving them. So you create heat in your palms. Once the palms are warm, you can put them on your face. You can caress yourself, massage softly, forehead, eyelids, cheeks, lips. And then put in the palms on your eyes, covering the eyes, and then slowly moving palms away from eyes and opening eyes into the light. that's the end of Yoga Nidra. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste, thank you.
Thank you. So perhaps we can just now draw this session to a close with a few closing words. Just to remind everybody that you will get the recording of the session in an email, probably in a few days' time. So if you want to watch it all again, if you missed anything, then you'll be able to do that. In that same email, there will be a link to a survey. You might want to give us some feedback on how you felt about the session or suggestions for other sessions. So if you have time, please do fill that in. Veronika, I don't know how you feel about maybe also sending out your presentation, whether people they might appreciate that if you were willing to send it, but we can.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. I was actually going to offer that.
Yeah, we can talk about that. People do sometimes also quite appreciate having that to look back at. Again, it was a very nice presentation, so we could maybe add that in as well to the email. As I mentioned at the beginning, of course, all these sessions are free, but if you do wish to make a donation, then there is a button on the EUY website where you can go to make a donation if you wish, but absolutely no requirement for you to do that. And then just to say that we have a couple of upcoming sessions again in English, which might be of interest. So 2 from the German Federation, but both speakers will be speaking in English. So Sriram on Tuesday the 16th, talking about what yoga tells us about fear, which sounds pretty fascinating. And also on the 25th of September, that's a Thursday, Anya Ortmann-Oiser will be talking about yoga and Ayurveda and how they can help us deal with anxiety. So again, I think potentially another very rich session there. You can get all those details on the EUY website, obviously, and if you're not already connected to the EUY via social media, if you are on social media, Facebook, Instagram, all the usual places, then please do connect with EUY and you'll get reminders, obviously, that way as well. And we're adding sessions all the time, so there'll be new things coming up in the next few weeks. So finally, just to say thanks. So thanks to all the team that have helped to put this together, because it's always a team effort, making sure that these sessions happen. So thanking the whole team for all the work that they've done. Thanking all of you for being here, for your presence, for your questions, for your input. And of course, massive thanks to Veronika for this marathon session of presentation, talking, some practice as well, and for getting this new initiative of having recent EUA graduates off to such a really great start. So thank you very much indeed for that, Veronika, and wishing everybody a very restful evening and good sleep tonight. Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you, Veronika. Thank you, Joy. Bye.
The gift to be able to be here. Have a lovely evening. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Bonne soirée.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, I'm going to stop there.